Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Wake Up Charlotte to Go. I'm Ben Thompson. And of course, this is the day after, the morning after the big primary election here in North Carolina. We got some upsets, some surprises, some just crushing victories, some humiliating defeats as well. We've got all of it for you coming up over the course of the next couple of minutes. In the meantime, let us know what you thought of the results last night. Were you pleased? Were you sort of a mixed bag of emotions about what happened? Did you not like it at all? Or maybe you don't care? Let us know either way. There's no right or wrong answer. And we'll be talking about some of that stuff coming up in just a few minutes. First, let's just bring you up to speed, though. Three races to know about from overnight. Number one, voters in Western North Carolina deciding they do not want Madison Cawthorn to go back to D.C. The 11th Congressional District deciding they want North Carolina State Senator Chuck Edwards to run in November. He'll face activist Jasmine Beach Ferreira. Number two, former Charlotte Mayor Patrick Cannon and current City Council member Larkin Eggleston will not get the chance to represent the Queen City again. They lost the Democratic primary for Charlotte's at-large seats to some familiar names, familiar faces right there, including current council members Braxton Winston and Dimple Ajmira. And number three, Congressman Ted Budd winning the U.S. Senate Republican primary. He will now go on to face Democrat and former Chief Justice Cheri Beasley in November's race. Richard Devane has more on that race.
It's Budd versus Beasley in what is expected to be a hotly contested battle for the open U.S. Senate seat this November after both candidates won their party's nomination last night. Representative Budd, endorsed by former President Donald Trump, held off his opponents, including former governor and former Charlotte Mayor Pat McCrory. Wake Up Charlotte's Chloe Leshner was with the McCrory campaign.
The former governor and Charlotte mayor conceding to Congressman Ted Budd in the Republican primary for U.S. Senate. He says that Republicans need to win back control of the Senate in November, but stopped short of endorsing Budd after a heated primary race.
In his acceptance speech, Budd spoke of a unified party.
Now, we need to pull together, and we need to look to the real race in November. So I was glad to see that many of the events that we all participated in, each one of us took a unity pledge and we raised our hand to support the eventual winner of this primary. And that sends a clear message to the Democrats that this party is united and is poised to take back the Senate and to save this country.
Democrat Cheri Beasley is the first black woman to serve as Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, easily won her primary and spoke of the need for change in Washington.
In this moment, we have the power to protect our rights. And so in this moment, we commit to come together, to seize this moment and fulfill the promise of this country we love for generations to come.
Richard Devane with that report. All right, folks, we want to break down sort of this race by the numbers and by the map across North Carolina about how this all went down. And listen, I think a lot of folks thought Ted Budd was going to win. I'm not sure many people realized by how much. Nearing 59-60% of the vote right there. In fact, when you take a look at the map right here, I mean, it is all purple, which is the sort of the color we've designated for Ted Budd. All purple with one exception, and that one exception is Mecklenburg County, and you see it right there. And when we take a closer look, we can see that is the one county where Pat McCrory actually did win, which is not a big surprise given that he was the mayor here for I believe 14 years here in Charlotte, so he's a well-known entity. Perhaps the more surprising part is that he only won by 70 votes here in Mecklenburg County, which was not nearly as much as he needed to sort of win that. But as we said, it doesn't even look really close across the state of North Carolina. On the Democratic side, let's take a look at things there. Again, we weren't expecting this to be a close one, and you know what, folks? It wasn't. Cheri Beasley with 83% of the vote. That's in Mecklenburg County. When we take a look at state totals, about the same, 81% of the vote across the entire state of North Carolina. And if you notice, all 100 counties here, all solid blue, which was the color we designated for her. So that gives you an indication of what we're going to face here in November. We've got Cheri Beasley and Ted Budd going face-to-face for this U.S. Senate seat. Keep in mind, it is Richard Burr's Senate seat right now, so it's Republican. So if Democrats can get that win, they pick up a seat in the U.S. Senate, which is, as you know, a big deal. While I'm standing over here, let's go ahead and go over some of these other races that we talked about. First of all, this one over in the North Carolina mountains. This probably is the congressional race that got more attention than just about any congressional race across the country last night. All unfolding over there in Asheville. And as you can see here, Chuck Edwards, who's a state lawmaker, was able to concentrate a lot of his vote right here in Buncombe County, in Asheville, down in Hendersonville, Brevard as well. Madison CAWTHORN still did fairly well in some of the outlying areas, the more rural areas as well, only losing by about 1,300 votes in all in that district. But we do know, in fact, that he did concede the race last night. He was up against the party establishment, including Tom Tillis, although the president as recently as Monday saying that he wanted voters to give CAWTHORN a second chance after a number of missteps, mistakes, controversies, videos, pictures, you name it. It was thrown at his campaign. And as we mentioned before, that setup piece, they'll face Jasmine Beach Ferrara in the general election. Another race I want to look at real quickly, not because it was especially close or anything, but because this is that new district we got. Keep in mind, North Carolina is one of the few states that has a booming population. So in 2020, because of the census, we were given an extra congressional seat, an extra voice in D.C. in the House of Representatives. Other states lost some. So we were given this extra district, and it's settled right here. This was part of the litigation that we talked about for months. But this is where they ended up settling it. And it's southern Mecklenburg County and a big chunk of Gaston County. Republican winning it, 75% of the vote. Pat Harrigan. When it comes to the Democrat well-known, Jeff Jackson with 86% of the vote. So those two will face off in the November election. So that gives you an idea of how some of those races broke down in the overnight hours and some of the surprises we saw. And folks, you can do the same thing. All you got to do is head on over to WCNC.com, and you too can have your own little magic map, touchboard, whatever you want to call it. And sort of play around and see how the numbers broke down. It's kind of fun. It's kind of interesting, and sort of see how it works out. All right, what's next? Well, keep in mind, folks, we've got the city elections, which we didn't even talk about in a lot of detail right there. We've got the city elections. The general election for that's coming up on July 26th, so keep that in mind. And the general election for everything else, some of those federal races we talked about, that's not coming up until November 8th. So you got some time to get prepared for those. In the meantime, you'll be probably seeing a lot of ads airing, including right here on WCNC Charlotte, over the next few months. All right, folks, that's a wrap up of the big primary here in North Carolina. Here's hoping you have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for another edition of Wake Up Charlotte to Go.